What's the panda bear thing up there?
Oh, yeah. So this is from a book called Panda and Tiny Dragon, and it's written by his name's James Norbury, written and illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Zen Buddhist, and it's a story of these two just traveling together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of sequence of like Zen wisdoms. And so this says, "I can't find my way out of this hole," said the tiny dragon. And Big Panda smiled. "Then I will come and sit in it with you."
Nice.
So to me, like that's one of those like, this is kind of what
Mm-hmm.
spiritual care is, chaplaincy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that illustrates in one image a really good one. But have you seen the Brene Brown? Like, she talks about that sort of same concept,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in her TED talk.
Uh-huh.
But then there's also like somebody went and did sort of an animated video to it,
Oh, okay.
and it's the exact same idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's a wisdom thought that kind of is throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of a universal language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I read it. It struck me. One of my friends printed it, made a print for me, and I just, yeah. So I got to hang it up in there.
No, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I would say get it framed, but I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I actually, they have prints on like his website, so I was going to see if I could find like an official print. That'd be pretty cool. If I can find that, then I'll use that. This one came off a printer.
Yeah, nice. I like seeing the personality come out a little bit in the office.
Yeah, my goal is to add a little bit each week.
There you go.
Pretty soon, this will be a visual smorgasbord of Jonathan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, how are you doing, man? How are things going for you? And just
Yeah.
start there.
So things are going okay.
Mhm.
A little overwhelmed this week just because I have a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And also just because like it's the third week, I'd like to believe like, oh, we're in routine now. It's not possible. Because like, I mean, first week was orientation, second week was a little more routine, but also trying to adjust the schedule. And then this week has been better, but also I have like my installation service on Saturday. And so the church will be having me like officially installed there as like their priest in charge. It's something we should have done soon after I took that job, but there wasn't a bishop at the time, so I had to wait for a bishop to kind of come in and be able to offer that, and then I had to jump on their schedule, and so it just so happened to land this weekend. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So.
How long have you been there?
Since September.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been there long enough, but now it's kind of like just something we need to make official. And so I've got that this Saturday. My mom's coming up for it, and so I'm picking her up at the airport tomorrow, and then I'll have to get her back on Tuesday. I think so it'll either be me or my wife who try to get her back to the airport. So we'll see. I might be running during my lunch break to just kind of take her over there and then come right back here. So it's fine since I live just around the corner. Like I can get on up there and then take her out there and get back here pretty fast, I think. But so yeah, between all that going on and also our Sunday service with the Pride Parade and everything going on, will be a lot. So we just have a lot of moving pieces, and we hired a new parish administrator over there, so he's kind of getting settled into the job. He also has like vacation he's trying to take, and so it's just a lot of people like in and out and trying to communicate and do all that other stuff together while we're all trying to like resettled into new routines. So I mean, after I think this week for me, it'll be much better, but it's just trying to get through that.
Yeah, I feel like in early going, one of the themes I'm noticing in you is that you seem very, you almost have like this kind of like tug and pull with all your responsibilities, right? It's like, I'm here, I'm doing this, and I like being here, I like doing this, but I got this and that, and I got all this other stuff. That seems to come out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just something I'm observing in you.
Yep. No.
You're distracted almost.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it, but I have to say these Thursdays actually are a little helpful in that way, because if I get an email or if I'm getting something else, I can actually be attentive to that. And so once I've got the routine. I can say, hey, if you want to reach out to me, I can reach out to you sometime on Thursday virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I can just make time to kind of work around whatever's going on Thursday. So I'm like, that's fine. And that works out for me. And I do like a couple hours on Tuesdays, and then I'm going to be using a couple hours on like Wednesday mornings. So, like I said, once I'm able to like solidify that, I'll be fine.
Sure. It's part of the burden of carrying multiple roles, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Yeah, and this is just, it's a temporary thing, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, how are you feeling as far as just your feelings, articulate your feelings related to the programs, the whole so far, CPE, clinical, CPE group?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't write as much anything about our group, but I mean, I like our group. I'm like I said, I think it's good. I connect well with Coco. It's interesting being like one of the more, because I'm in a higher level, like it's funny, there's like things I just kind of know or expect or can explain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they've looked at me and they were like, oh, you're really smart. And I'm like, it's not that I'm smart. Like I can assure you. I'm like, I've just been doing this a little bit longer, or at least have a better idea of what I'm supposed to be working on and how to work on those things. Well, you guys are just learning all this for the first time, so it's not that I'm smarter than you. I just have a little more experience in this than you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short.
I mean, sure, I can admit to being a smart guy, sure, but
you're intelligent.
Yeah, I like to think so. There are definitely some days and things that come out of my mouth that make me question that, but who doesn't?
Sure. I'm gonna review my video and I'm gonna look at it and I'm like, why did I say it that way?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be angry at myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah. No, I get that though, but I think if we can, I think right, isn't that the idea of chaplaincy is living working in an environment of self-reflection, living and working in this environment of self-reflection. We have to constantly be mindful of, you know, our emotions and our what we say and how we said it and why we said it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's and so that we get that kind of action, reflection, new action, clinical method kind of learning.
Yep. I need to be more poignant at identifying that and saying like, yeah, that's what that is.
Mm-hmm. I think all of these things they come with more exposure and more attention brought to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I always ever thought about that myself. And now in this role, it's something that I'm much more aware of because I'm working with people who are working through the process, you know? And so for you, right, like I just encourage you, like, yeah, the kind of the action reflection, new action model can be a really useful thing in just thinking in a reflective manner through your work as a chaplain, maybe even hopefully as a pastor too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, there's definitely been times where I've worked with someone at the church and like, maybe it was something I said that they came to me and was like, you know, I heard you say this, and I was like, oh, well, what did you hear? You know, try to like really like realize, okay, what was going on? What was I thinking? What was I feeling? Where was that coming on? And then, yeah, when some people have been angry with me about something, being able to say, okay, how about we sit down? How about we talk about what's going on? Tell me what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. How do you deal with anger when it's directed?
When it's directed at me, yeah, it's kind of poignant to some of what we were watching earlier with Wakas and trying to experience that. Yeah, you know, and also pertinent to, I guess, maybe one of the goals I'm working towards, like, because, like, yeah, like I said, I'm a little more conflict avoidant, so, like, you know, I'm uncomfortable with it. I could definitely feel that in Wakas's voice when he said, like, this is how that would like worked and how uncomfortable he was with it. I was like, yeah, I am too, and I've actually seen that happen and experienced that happen a couple of times. And I don't know, like I think humor is an immediate like defense mechanism for me sometimes. And so like whenever somebody is like, what can you offer me? And I'm like, I don't know how much time you got. Like I might be able to offer you a lot, or so I mean, I don't know, like the whole like defensive, like just get out. I'd probably hear that and just be like, okay, sure thing, not a problem. Like we can find someone else who cares, because I don't know if I want to be here in this moment. That's not me.
Yeah.
So I admit that I can sort of take it on and get maybe overwhelmed by it pretty easily sometimes.
Do you recognize in yourself that, like, so say you've met with a similar greeting, right? That your default might be to be like, I'll make a joke. I'm gonna try to see if I can get the, loosen the tension a little bit. Is that, you think that's when you're thinking about like how you would do intervention, is that something you thought about?
Sometimes. Sometimes. It just depends on like what's going on and if something like really does come to me. If it doesn't, like I'm trying to remember, there was one time in my first unit, and the way we did things is we had to, for whatever reason, chaplains were asked to come and deliver like advanced directives and DNR like sort of paperwork. So if somebody, and they thought because like, oh, you're chaplains, you would be having conversations with people about that.
I've done
like,
that too.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, that was part of our job in my first unit, and yeah, I hated it. I was not a fan. I was like, okay. And so I remember going down to this one floor and like meeting with this one person, because they had, like, it said the nurse had requested, or maybe we got a phone call, and I was like, sure, go ahead. So I was like, if they've requested, I'm happy to just bring them the paperwork. So I did. And it was one of those rooms I had to get gowned up for. And so I remember like standing outside, putting on everything, and I could see this woman kind of sitting at her chair. And it looked like she was watching TV, but she could also see me like getting gowned up. And I walked in and I said, hi, my name is Lawrence. I'm a chaplain here at the hospital, and I came here today because I was told you had you had made a request for some DNR paperwork. And she looked at me and she goes, do you see the door behind you? And I was like, yeah, this one right here. She's like, you can see your way out. And I just was like, okay, well, would you like for me to leave this here? She's like, you can get the hell out of here. And I just was like, sure thing. All right, well, have a good day. Just walked out, and I just got ungowned, and I was kind of more pissed that I had to actually put on all that. Like, she couldn't just yell at me while I was outside. Like, I was like, why the hell did you make me like get all gowned up and then come in to tell me you didn't want me in your space? And so I was really kind of upset about that. And then I went and sat down at like one of the computers, and I started charting, like, okay, patient was angry at me, da-da-da-da-da. And then I looked at one of the nurses, and I was like, that patient in room 14? They were like, yeah. I was like, is she a bitch or just having a bad day? Because they were like, man, they pissed off the chaplain. I was like, they really did today. I don't know what I did. So, I don't know. I still remember that and that experience.
Those kinds of visits stand out, right?
Right?
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Gosh, that's had to have been 14 years ago now.
14 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's tough. And I think sometimes you got to think about, like, for me, it's often like, what is happening in their life? They're choosing to react that way to me, right? Because I'm often reminded, like, it's not about me, right? But their ire, when it's directed towards me, it's about me in that moment, right? I'm connected with it. So what's going on? Why is anger the default? That's when my wheels start turning, and I think to myself, like, okay, was there something for me? Like, I often will reflect and be like, again, like, if I'm presenting this to somebody the next time, what would I do differently? How could I do different? How could I do different? Maybe you couldn't. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because, like, for example, like, how could she have known you were the chaplain until you walked in? Unless you said, I'm the chaplain. You knocked. I'm the chaplain. Can I come in? I don't know if you did that.
Yeah, I didn't do it just before, and I don't know if I asked permission. So I can understand all that. Seeing how we do that practice here now, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and so she explicitly requested that paperwork.
So I thought she didn't really seem to want.
So there was a miscommunication somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah. So, and I often wonder, like, what if you took a different angle when you approached in, like, I'm the chaplain, I come by to check in on you. I got a request that you had wanted to have some that you wanted to have a conversation about advanced directives. Maybe that changes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, there's a hospital that made it a practice that I didn't work at directly, but I had kind of like subbed in. You know what I mean? And the patients would get the advanced directives and have them complete the DNR DNI form.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I do not want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. One, it's like, I don't know. It just felt like coming in with an agenda is always like something that in CB I learned. Don't have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Just be present, right? And it was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that.
Yeah. I think I like, that's why I like, have doing any of that here or in other places like in Mercy,
Mm-hmm.
not having to bring in any of that paperwork. Like we're not bringing in any of that with it. So.
Yeah, I feel like I would. I feel like again, like it's one of those things where I appreciate the conversations around
Mm-hmm.
advanced care planning, and these kinds of things, like in thinking through your advanced directives, and having to approach it from a more of a kind of an emotional and spiritual angle,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to engage in a conversation about what that means to them. Like to me, that I have found that far more productive
Mm-hmm.
than actually getting the physical paperwork done, because
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such an existential hurdle people are trying to clear before they even sign those papers. You got to give them space to think about it.
Mm.
So again, at least that's been my my experience in my years. So
Yeah.
yeah. How are things like with you at Mercy? I got to shadow you a little bit yesterday, but like how are things in terms of just rounding there and connecting with the patients there? And Barb?
Yeah, rounding with, I'm trying to think, rounding's been interesting. Working with Barb has been great. I feel like I've had some really good like sit downs with Barb, both like after she shadowed me at one point and then also just in like conversation trying to help her like think through one or two things, because I had the thing I wrote about in there, Barb sat down and talked with me about and gave me a little bit more like food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that. Like she's really insightful.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I've learned a lot from her.
Mm-hmm. I can see how.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, she's been great to work with. So that's been good. Connecting with patients, it's been interesting doing, like I said a little earlier on Tuesday, it's kind of annoyed me doing the chair thing in almost every room, but it really does like create deeper conversation with people. And so, I feel like I've been able to connect more deeply and actually have some really good conversations with patients. I'm trying to remember, I was in the ED yesterday, and it was like maybe one of the last two patients I was seeing. I walked in and introduced myself, told them who I was and what I was doing, and I said, how are you doing today? And he was like, well, not great. And I was like, I'm sorry to hear that. So he then told me like he was going to be going on hospice care. So he was like, I'm okay today. I'm okay tomorrow, probably. He's like, after that, doctors can't promise me what it's going to look like, but I'm going on hospice. And I was like, so like pulled up a chair and was like, well, let's talk about it. How are you feeling about this? And so I had some really good conversation with him and just kind of entered into that. And he had a son who was there and supporting him. And it was not quite the same conversation. It was definitely a heavier conversation than I had in some places, but I think maybe the room just before that, I spoke with a guy who had like just a fascinating life. And he was hilarious. I think he was like an interior designer, and so like the nurse came in and he was like, oh, what colors do you like? You got to get this. He's like, don't get your cabinets done this way. And then he's like, when you get he just started giving her like all this advice, and I was like, man, this is great. Just started entering a conversation with him and talked with him a little bit about his faith and what church he was a part of, and yeah. So it was different dynamics down there in the ER. Like that sort of felt a little whiplash in a way. but it was really good. Yeah, I haven't really been able to like round in an ER as much. I've always gone down there for like crisis sort of situations, so that was just interesting to me to see it in that way.
Yeah. Did you round any of the hallway beds?
Yes, because one woman was crying.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one woman who was out there crying, and introduced myself, and I offered to meet with her, and she said no. And I was like, okay, well, if you need anything. And she goes, is Sister Jean still here? And I was like, I don't know. So then I was like, how do you know Sister Jean? So I had a little conversation with her about that. She's like, I'd really appreciate if she was around. I was like, I will look into this and see if we can find her, if she's available. I don't know. I was like, I'm still pretty new, but I will see if I can find out something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, we had a Sister Jean at Father Baker Manor.
Yeah, it might have been that then. I don't
She
know.
retired.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Just recently she retired.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe she was thinking about like Jean O'Brien and just thought she was a nun or something.
Or Jean O'Brien. Yeah. Some people do make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure.
Mm-hmm. But you were able. Sounds like you were able to bring something out in her and have a connection,
Mm-hmm.
and have some semblance of a visit with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some semblance of a visit. I remember when she said, no, I really don't want to meet with anybody right now. I was like, oh, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she's like, whenever I'm sick, I don't want to be around people. And I was like, yeah, that's just like my cat. And she goes, yeah, that's just like a mother who has teenage children. And I was like, I'm sure it's just like that too. And so we did make like, a little bit of a connection right there.
Okay.
But,
All right. I read through your process reflection, and if we could change gears a little bit.
Sure.
I thought this was really interesting and really insightful. So now, this was just recently, like the last couple days, or?
Last week, maybe?
Okay. Yeah. What was it that really kind of struck you about this? Is it just the connection with your grandma, or?
Possibly. So I don't know if my grandmother had like dementia towards the end of her life, but there was definitely something like it. It could have been Alzheimer's, it could have been dementia. At that point in time, she was like 93 years old. She was pretty good with where she was, and she was never, I don't think, in a place where she felt like she was in an immediate danger or harm or anything like that. I think this woman feared she could have been. And I don't know, going in there to meet with her, I think I didn't see anything on her chart, so this sort of like caught me a little off guard. But then when she said, I came here to watch a film, I was like, you came to the hospital to watch a film? I can't remember, I can't even remember the dialogue as well. So I wish I could have like held on to it for a verbatim, because I think that would have been a better one. But I couldn't remember. And I think maybe that was because of some of the emotions I was feeling and what it was sort of like reminding me of. And so I was like, damn, that could be good. But I was like, I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what I did. I do remember like just kind of talking with her, listening for a little bit, and I said, well, I'm a chaplain. I'm here at the hospital with you, and I'm happy to pray for you. Would you like that? And she said yes. And I said, what would you like for me to pray for? And this part I remember, she was like, clarity. And I was like, absolutely, let's pray for clarity. Mm-hmm. And so I just tried to like offer a prayer in that moment for that. Mm-hmm. And just, I don't know, I was with her in that moment. And then I walked out after that, and I saw the nurse and was like, I think I saw one of the nurses and was like, hey, where is, and I could look at my sheet and be like, where is this woman? And she came over to me, and I was like, this patient, can you tell me a little more what's going on? And she told me she had dementia. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. I was like, that lets me know a little bit more of like what I was engaging with.
Yeah. So I imagine you wrestled with the, like, do I embrace the reality she's living in? Mm-hmm. Or do I try to kind of work around that, mm-hmm, so as not to like misrepresent myself?
Exactly. And I mean, and there was a part of me that was like, I don't know. I kind of, again, comedically, I sort of wanted to be like, well, what film was it? And I was like, that seems wrong. And when I was having a conversation with Barbara about that, she was like, I don't know. Would it have been wrong? She's like, I think that could have been really good conversation. And maybe when I was like, maybe.
Yeah. What would be for you, what would be the harm in indulging that?
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, it just seemed rude, or it just seemed like maybe that was where I was asking myself, like, am I saying, is that coming to mind right now a little more defensively because I'm trying to make light heart of the situation. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't know.
No, I think that's a common thing a lot of us wrestle with. I remember doing a really, it was the Alzheimer's Association who came and did a whole seminar for like our spiritual care people. It was really good. It was really interesting. This was years back. Actually, that'd be awesome, didactic. That's what I should mention to Brian. But anyway, and they often suggest, like, you know, sometimes like if you're gonna embrace their reality, like if you meet them in the reality and try to pull them out of it, that can actually be a little bit more disorienting to them. And so maybe like as a chaplain, and I've developed a couple techniques where, you know, like, you know, she said like, what was it, film? How'd she phrase it for the film? I'm here to see a film. Is that what she said?
Basically.
Yeah. You know, maybe ask like, what's the film? What film are you waiting to view, or something like that, and then go with it. And then like sometimes I'll be like, are you watching the film alone, or do you have family who's going to be here with you? Then, because the way it kind of pulls in, like, does she have a support system that she recognizes even in her own state, like. So, and then, like, you know, just kind of work with it a little bit, just to kind of, you know, offer her just some kind of, you know, support. She asks you who you are. You're like, well, I'm a chaplain. I just came by to say hello. Is that okay? You know, that kind of thing. So, I working with people with Alzheimer's and dementia, I have found that, like, if you embrace their reality, I find that they're far more open to just having the conversation, because their mind state is in such a kind of it's this fluid
like
state.
It's almost flux.
Yeah, it's in flux, because like some moments they get some moments of lucidity.
Clarity, yes.
And so you kind of meet them there, but then they go back to there, and it's all over the place. But as long as you can just kind of maintain that steady presence, so as to not, you know, agitate them more. I don't think there's really any harm in it. Right? I had this when I was a nursing home chaplain. This one lady, every single time I saw her, it was the same conversation. She was from Puerto Vallarta, which I think is like in Puerto Rico or something like that. And every single time I'd see her, she'd be like, "Did I tell you I'm leaving?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, where are you going?" And she's like, "To Puerto Vallarta." And I was like, "Oh, it's like Puerto Vallarta. That sounds wonderful." She's like, "Yes, you want to come?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's plan our trip." We would just kind of go with it, and she just felt like this connection with me. So I kind of embraced the reality, just kind of go with it. I knew she wasn't going to be leaving, and you know, try to kind of gently leave her when it was time for me to move on to the next visit. So I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Barb, I could see Barb embracing the reality too.
Oh, totally.
She's got that gentle enough spirit to just kind of very calmly guide him. Yeah, I think if that's something that, you know, you can, the more you do it, you can learn to work with it. But so your grandmother, you said that she did have dementia, or you're uncertain?
I'm uncertain. And I'm not sure. I mean, we never got her tested or anything of that nature. But I just remember, like I said a couple times in there. So like, my uncle was born in Verdun, France, and I remember one time I walked in, and normally when I saw my grandmother, I would just come into town for like a weekend or something. My mom would always be like, "Well, go see your grandmother for like 15 minutes, you know, just go spend a little time with her." And I'd say, "Okay." So I'd come in and like sit down, maybe stay for about 30-40 minutes. Just would come in and she'd be there, and I remember she had a board with like, kind of a cork board with like a lot of pictures and things on it. And I think my aunt had just sent her a bunch of pictures from like, I think she had sort of not remastered, but she had found some old pictures and got them maybe more touched up. And so she decided to like send them to her mom so that she could have them there. And I remember seeing a couple pictures of my grandmother, like in some of these, like, so back in like the early 50s, I guess. And I was just kind of looking at it and was like, oh, I was like, well, that doesn't look like the U.S. And she goes, no, that was France back in Verdun. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm just kind of looking at it. She's like, you weren't even born then. I was like, no, not for like 30 years. And then she started asking me a couple questions and said one or two things that made me go, oh, you think, when you said I wasn't born in France, like you were thinking of your son.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, like, no, that's not who I am. And so I didn't try to correct her, but I just was like, oh, I guess not. And just kind of like leaned into some of the ambiguity with it, but also just kind of tried to roll with the punches. I think the one time I maybe just rolled with it and it was absolutely fine was when we went to a Thanksgiving dinner that they had. I remember this, one of the people working asked her, they said, well, who is this that's with you? Because they had all like family members and it was just me and my mom. And she goes, well, this is my, I think she said, she looked at mom and said, this is my sister. And then she looked at me and said, and this is my brother. And I was like, I'm just young for my age and doing it well. And I mean, I think they sort of laughed at it. My mom laughed at it. And I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. But I was like, weird that she thought that I was her brother. And I mean, I had a lot more color in my beard and hair on top of my head. And I was like, it's weird that she would think, and I look nothing like my Uncle George. Like, I just was like, why would she think I was her brother?
Mm.
But at the same time, in that moment, I just rolled with it because I was like, sometimes she knows exactly where she is and what's going on, and I just find that, if we just kind of roll with it, instead of stopping to try and correct her and tell her who you are, it just seems to be more fluid.
Yeah. It's hard when it's your family because you want to reorient them. Like you feel like if I can help them remember, somehow it's gonna stave off more.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through that with my grandmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she confused me with my uncle too, all the time. My wife with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was. My mom was always so quick to be like, "Oh no, that's not. It's not Kevin. That's Jonathan. It's your grandson. His wife. That's Ashley. That's not Nancy. That kind of thing."
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And then my grandma, she was so like coy. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know."
Of course. Yeah. What was funny to me though is that my grandmother and my mom both have always, for some reason, I've never been like just Lawrence. I've always been Charles, which is my uncle's name. And I was like, and they'd be like, I meant Lawrence, come here.
Mm.
Like Charles. I was like, so I sort of got used to being like sort of both names for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it didn't I think the first time she mentioned something about it, it didn't catch me until we started getting into the conversation a little more, and I was like, oh. Like you were it's not switching over. It's like, no, you think I am. So.
Yeah. And how long ago did she pass, your grandma?
Ironically, 14 years ago. It was actually the week before I started CPE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an intense summer.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, so that's grandma from Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
That's where your mom's family was, as I recall you saying.
Yeah, we grew up there in that part.
So you're real close with her then?
Yeah, no, my grandmother lived with us.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, she was kind of the other family member, or the other parent, if you will, in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very significant.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I grew up with my grandma too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And she was my favorite person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
When she died, that was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I felt like it should have been a lot harder by that point in time, but I think it's because a lot of her family, she was the last of her siblings to die, and she was like one of 8, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, it just sort of felt like once we got them into a nursing home, like within maybe months or possibly a year, they died.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we initially moved her into a nursing home, that's when I started grieving her, because I was like, it's going to be either a few months or it's going to be a year. And she wound up staying there for like maybe 6 years.
Okay, wow.
So, I mean, it was a lot longer than I really thought it was. And then I just was like at the time when we got to okay, now she's died, we had sort of been anticipating it a little bit and just was like, okay, here we are. It's finally happening.
Right.
And I remember when my mom called me with the news, I was like pretty upset about that. But then once it was done, it was like, she's at peace now.
Yeah.
now she's fully herself and who she was, and I was okay with that.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was in a place where I think at that point in time, like, you know, I had grieved it a while. I got that really good chance to grieve it on my drive when I was coming back from Texas all the way back into Mississippi. And got to be there with my family and do all that. And once that was done, I was like, yeah, this is what I needed. I'm good.
Yeah.
But it was sort of funny because during that summer, they were like, well, let's talk about that more. And I was like, I think it's kind of done. They were like, I don't know if it is. I was like, you sure?
You're talking about CPE?
Yeah.
They wanted you to process this more.
Yeah, they wanted me to process it more. They wanted to see me cry about it. And I was like, I did cry about it. Like, literally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know. I was like, fine, whatever.
Morris, why are you trying to be so guarded? Even 14 years later.
Exactly. It's only 14 years later.
So, but no, I hear that, and yeah, like I said, I can relate on some level going through that with my grandmother as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Well, I think it was a really good job. I like reading this, and I like that you wanted to do Patch Adams as a picture. You couldn't find a Patch. You should draw a picture. Where you got puts the little red nose on, right?
Yeah, maybe I should just gotten a picture to
Do a little
kind of
stick
like
figure
copy
with-
and paste. Yeah.
Do a little stick figure with a red nose.
Yeah, my problem was I couldn't. I mean, if I gave it to you in person, I think I could have done that. But I was like, oh, I can't draw this right now in the moment, so I'm just gonna print it off. I'm like, but if I could.
If you treat the patient and not the disease, you win every time. So what was the connection to Patch Adams and this? Is it just the idea of being present to them,
Mhm.
right?
It was
Taking
kind
the time for the patient.
yeah, taking the time for the patient. But I don't know if you remember. I mean, it's been forever since that movie was on. But
Honestly, I just watched it.
Oh, did you?
Probably like less than a month ago with my son.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know what it was on, but it just came on. Maybe I was in one of the rooms with a patient, and it just was like, oh, of course, Patch Adams. But I mean, within the past couple weeks, I just watched it, and not the whole thing, but just there was, for some reason, I remember particular scenes, and one of them was like taking. There was like one guy, it was an older guy who was in like the nursing home who was just wanted one more safari, and so he like set up all those balloons for him to like get and do all that. And there's a part of me that was like, yeah, that was really healing in a way that, you know, medicine wasn't doing it. But then also was like all the cancer kids that came to like support him at the very end, and like watching him like interact with all of them as he made like, I think the whatever that thing is into a nose. So I don't know, there was a part of me that was just kind of like seeing all that, and the way that he was with people in that regard, like, what do you want to do? She's like, I really want to bathe in like a pool of noodles. Like, okay, let's make a pool of noodles for her to get into. I'm like, yeah, it's like, be with them in that part. Like, I mean, it was just, to me, it was like one of the best ways of demonstrating like presence and meeting the patients where they were at. That I was like, yeah, I was like, that's more like our role.
Yeah. I think it captures the spirit of that very well. And, yeah. I was, like I said, watching it for the first time probably in years with my son. I was like, okay. As a seasoned chaplain who wants to often be creative with the people he meets, like, I can appreciate that. Yeah. Have you thought about that in terms of just incorporating creativity within the bounds of, you know, what's, I guess, acceptable in a room? Have you thought about that? Like, are there ways that you've incorporated creativity into your spiritual care yet?
I don't think there are right now. And I really should be more.
You're an affable guy. I think you could think of something.
I probably could, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think anything has come up quite like that.
Yeah. Well, think about it.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an answer now. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. No, but I could see something come up where that would be, I mean, using that creativity to actually like work with a patient. I could see that come up, but
yeah. Well, I encourage you. That would be cool if you think of something. Bring it back here. I'd love to hear about it.
No, yeah, if something comes to mind.
real quick, because we're right about our time boundary here for
Yep.
today. I was a little late getting in here, so
You're fine.
it takes a couple minutes. Have you thought any more about, yours is up here, right? Yeah. Have you thought any more about like, how you'd like to measure these goals?
I mean, essentially with that one, so with the first goal, I was thinking, again, just having like verbatims, maybe some process reflections, some things like that, that just sort of show those things. I think that's, and again, I think that's showing where either I have some challenges or some growth.
Okay.
I think I'm tapping into that on a regular basis, but I think like, again, when it comes to demonstrating like how to use it more effectively, like that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. If you could sit down and write that out for me a little bit.
Sure.
I'd just like to have it.
Okay.
And then like, again, I think that'd be a good thing to share with Barb too.
Yeah, no, she actually already got on to me. I don't want to say on to me, but she was a little disappointed that she asked me at one point in time, she was like, so do you have your goals written down? And I was like, on a board back in our room we do. And she was like, do you have a hard copy for me? I was like, I do not.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, can you remember them? I was like, I don't know if I can at this very moment. And she was a little like, what do you mean you can't? What do you mean? And I was like, let me get back to you. And so I like just kind of needed a minute to like walk around. And then when I came back, I was like, I remembered everything, here you go. And so I had them somewhat enough, but I wouldn't mind actually snapping a picture.
I was gonna say, why did you take a picture?
I don't know.
No, I mean, you should just take a picture now.
No, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were asking me like, why did you just take a picture? I'm like, that's a great question. I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't do that.
I was more of a slave driver. I would have been like, Lawrence. I specifically requested that you have this prepared for today. You did not. But you give me a process reflection, so that works too. So,
Well, for some reason, I just remembered meeting with you last week, and you said something about the process reflections, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I have to have done. So I just was like ready to give you that, and I want to say I was talking about it with Sylvester and Coco, and they were like, aren't we supposed to have something about learning goals? I'm like, I don't remember. And all of a sudden, Sylvester was like, yeah, here's the thing about how to, and I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, well, I already turned mine in, so.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I would just say, if you could do that for me, I would really appreciate it.
Sure.
Having that kind of stuff as a reference point for our conversations, and just also for you, top of mind when you're doing verbatims, and process reflections.
Mhm,
like
mhm.
it's a theme that will run as a kind of current through.
Yeah. I think my second one is the only one that's a little harder. Like, I mean, be a part of or attend an ethics palliative care meeting. Like, I mean, that's kind of check whether or not I did.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know, and unfortunately, like I think I told you at Mercy,
yeah, all that is on the days that we're in class.
it's on the days we're in class.
So there may be something else that we could do. And I know Barb said she would be on the lookout for some of that as well. So I think she's going to follow up with you on maybe some of that one.
Okay.
But evaluate how I give feedback to my peers in a timely manner. I think some of that's going to come out more in maybe some of our empathy lab, as well as just other group meetings like what we saw today. Some of that may come out.
Okay.
That's where I see maybe some of that.
Yeah.
And it may not be just with my cohort. It may be maybe it's with colleagues over at Mercy. So I'm willing to say that could expand to more than just the group here, depending on what may happen. And if there's something like that, then maybe a process reflection is where I would check that out.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, but I appreciate it. Just try to give that some attention. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
That would be useful for me. And yeah, keep doing the good work. Okay.
Sure thing.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Man.